Hi there, it's Eddita Felt and we are at the cemetery in Freeport again. This particular plot that I'm standing on now is one that I was very drawn to when we first came to the cemetery last fall in the darkness. The reason that I was very drawn to this particular plot is that there was a strong emanation of sadness that came from this particular plot, and I pick up on those strong feelings, whether there's sadness or happiness, and this particular one drew me because of the sadness. I had a sense of a family that's buried here, and this family all died very quickly from a fever, and this fever started with the babies and spread to the parents, and it was very difficult for everybody involved. The mother died after the two children died, and the father lingered. I feel like might have lingered on a bit longer, or there was another male in a father, like could have been her father, I suppose, who lingered on a little bit longer. But there was a sense of this whole family being wiped out so quickly in the age before antibiotics, before we had those choices available to us. And those poor little children, I just felt their little bodies were all so hot, and I could feel their final illness. The little bodies were so hot and blisters and fever blisters, and so it was very sad. So that's why this particular plot speaks to me so much about the past, and I felt like the folks that were connected to this plot were coming in to say that that this is a part of the spirit of Freeport past, that people died very young and very unexpectedly sometimes, and there was little access to health services, and that there was nothing to be done about it. It was all, and they thought of it as being the will of God, and so that's, aren't we glad that that doesn't happen to us in our families today? I'm going to go this way now. There is a wonderful monument over here that has two shipbuilding brothers that want to talk about what their life was like in Freeport in the past. They described their shipyard as the fourth shipyard down. No, wait. They told me there were 4 shipyards. Theirs was the third one. And I haven't talked to them since I was here last October in the nighttime when we did our last visit here. But we are headed there now, and it's this way. And that's the monument up there. Now, of course, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't, I'm blind as a bat, but that's all right, right? So I am just going to keeping my eyes closed, so because when I get close I don't want to see what it says. I'm going to, when I was here last fall, I really connected very strongly with one of these two brothers. The two brothers both owned and managed the shipyard, and they were so interesting to talk to that I just had to come back again. Oh, that's interesting. They are telling me that at one time they had a connection with Mr. Mallet or Merritt. Sometimes when I get names, I get the first part of the words right, and I get the last sound right, but not the place in the middle. So it's either Mallet or Merritt that they would have had contractual obligations with as well. So there are 2 brothers that are connected with this. I'm also being reminded by, this is the older brother that I'm talking to, and the older brother is telling me that the wife was involved in the business as well. The wife did the bookkeeping for a lot of the bookkeeping for
the book for the yard, for the shipyard. Okay. He's not saying bookkeeping. He's saying she kept the books. In fact, books isn't the word he's using. He's showing me the ledgers. She kept the ledgers, is what he's saying. All right. So, as I'm here with him, I hear what sounds like a Bob or a Bobby that's associated with this family. I want to say that that's present day. I want to say that there are people still living in Freeport that are connected with this family, and that there was a Bob or a Bobby in the either the present generation or the last generation that's connected with this family. I also want to say that I'm being shown a Revolutionary War, one of those metal things on a stick they put in the graveyard next to people's graves that would be associated with this family. It feels like they have an ancestor who would have fought in the Revolutionary War and would have had that beside his grave. I actually want to go this way, in this direction for that grave, for some reason. So I'm just going to give that to you and leave that with you. I'm also wanting to say that with that Revolutionary War ancestor, there's a ship, of course, in Freeport. What else? But anyway, there's this person would have had a ship, would have made a living from bringing goods across the seas, possibly involved with the China carpet trade, but certainly a connection with that part of the world. So back to these folks. I'm feeling like there were 3 generations of this family that worked in the shipyard at one time. It feels to me as if they all had their own designated jobs, designated areas, like they would be different supervisors over different areas. Still don't have a name with these folks. But my sense is that the younger brother was the one that was more better liked and better understood in the community. It seems as if the older brother was a little bit standoffish, and the younger brother, who's speaking to me now, my sense is the younger brother did most of the face-to-face selling and talking with people. I see the older brother with a mallet, and he has a mallet, and he's doing this as he's working. He's got a piece of wood that's shaped like this. What is he doing with this? These look like nail holes, or as we're doing this. Anyway, he's shaping the board is what he's doing. Okay. The older brother was more interested in the actual doing of the work, and the younger brother was more inclined to be dealing with the public. The younger brother is the more outgoing of the two, and I am getting the name Charles now. I'm not sure if that goes with the younger brother or the older brother, but I'm getting the name Charles now. And mast or mast landing. So there may be a connection with either making, maybe, mast or mast landing, which is it, Spirit? I typically want them to give me something 3 times before I pass it along. Just to be sure that my ego might not have heard something somewhere and might fill in the blanks, because I don't like to have my ego do that. Okay. There's also a Sarah that's connected with this family, and she is a wife. She's the wife of, I want to go 3. I feel like maybe the 3rd generation. Or she could be a 3rd wife, but there's a 3 associated with Sarah and the two brothers. Okay. In asking what has happened, what happened to the family line, I'm asking what happened to the shipyard that used to be there for 3 generations in their family. What has happened to that? It feels like it trickled out. It feels like the work just trickled out. There wasn't enough work to keep things going. I want to say that the younger brother also, before passing, would have had trouble with the left leg, strong limp, an injury to the left leg, which would have left him with great difficulty moving around. I feel as if it was an injury and not a disease, so it wasn't gout or something like that, but there was an injury that affected this part of the leg, whether it was either broken and didn't heal appropriately, or else it hasn't healed appropriately. So he was unable to walk very well on this leg at all, and that made a big difference with the business. He wasn't able to get about and do what he wanted to do, and that was sort of the beginning of the end of the business for these folks. But they very much loved being boat builders, living in Freeport by the water, and they did what they wanted to do. They lived and they died doing what they wanted to do, and they are very grateful for having had the opportunity to do that in this area, and they feel like they couldn't have done it in a lot of other areas. So I'm going to leave those folks behind and step down this way, and you can take a picture of the monument if you want to. They may be including this in the tour, I'm not sure, and again, I don't want to know the names of people. Eddita Felt here, and at the cemetery in Freeport again. It is in broad daylight. When we first came here, it was after dark. I think it might have been a full moon night the first time we came. Either that or it was a full moon night the second time we came. And full moons are a good time for picking up spirit pictures and spirit activity. There was just something about that cycle that makes it easier. What we did was we sat in a circle right here, and we had another circle further back in the cemetery, and we had a little, what used to be called a seance. And as we were sitting here, the gentleman who was buried behind us came through and had a lot to say. What I do in the cemetery, if I want to talk to the old-timers in the cemetery, I ask them to come out to join me here and talk to me. And in this case, I wanted to know what their lives were like, so that when we lead a tour through the cemetery, we could tell people, well, so-and-so said this or whatever, because it's a lot more fun that way. When we were sitting here, we picked up the gentleman who's buried behind us came through, showed me that, he showed me all these sumptuous fabrics that he used to sell, like beautiful satins, and but they had, the fabric felt like satin, but it had these intricate patterns on it, and lots of ladies' dress fabric, and just millinery stuff, and very, very high-end kind of stuff, very nice. So he was showing me his shop and all of the many things that he sold in the shop, but all of it was imported. And what impressed me, of course, was the brocades and stuff like that. However, as we were sitting here talking with this gentleman, we began to get some information from a woman who was coming in, who said it was really, the way that it came through was that we heard screams coming from over in that area. We heard like a woman screaming. And we were seeing or sensing a recreation that occurred here of a young woman who had been strangled here in the cemetery. And I want to say around 1937 would have been the time that, or between 27 and 37 would have been the time this would have occurred. And she would have been murdered over here. She had a long white scarf.
she was murdered with her own scarf. It was tied around her neck and pulled tightly by the young man who she came to meet here that night, who was no longer her first choice and was angry about this. She was strangled, and her body was thrown down in the back, the very, very back of the cemetery. There's a woods, and there's a gully down there. Her body, we saw her body being pulled down there. And there were 3 people in the group that were picking up this particular unfortunate incident, and I did not get a name, at that time, did not get a name for either the woman or the man involved with this, but it felt to me as if she sort of disappeared off the face of the earth kind of thing. And as we're talking about that again, I'm hearing 27, so the number 27 has something to do with that. Maybe it's 1927 and not 37, or maybe, I don't know, but I'm getting 27 with that. So that was very unexpected. When we came here, we didn't expect that to come up. Now, when we came to this particular plot last fall, we were here at night, we picked up a lot of spirit activity around the back of it. We got several orbs, and unfortunately, the person who took those pictures are no longer available to us. So we're hoping to come back here at night to take some more pictures and see if we get some more orbs and cones. So what I really liked about this gentleman, whose monument is behind me, what I really liked about this gentleman when I met him in spirit was his sense of, he was a very happy man. He liked what he did. He liked touching all those fabrics. He liked making women happy. And that's all that I'm wanting to say about this particular gentleman in this particular spot in the Freeport Cemetery. And on to the next one.
We're here at Woodlawn Cemetery in Freeport, and I'm really happy to be here today because this particular cemetery plot, the last time I was here was way back in October of last year, and we were checking out the cemetery on a cemetery crawl, and it was at night. And this particular plot was totally, completely covered with vines, and it was a big mess, and you couldn't really get a sense of it. I have my eyes closed because I don't want to know who's buried in these various places when I'm going to them for the first time. That's not a spirit, that's somebody out on the road, by the way. I keep my eyes closed when I get up close because I don't want to know who is in a place until I've talked to the person's spirit myself. The reason I was so drawn to this particular place is because when I was here last fall, and we were thinking about using this site for the tour, I was getting a sense of desolation about this particular site, this particular grave. Made me feel, I felt a lot of sadness, and it was really interesting to me. It felt to me as if there had been a disagreement or falling out between a father and a daughter that was very strong and very painful for both the father and the daughter, and that for one reason or another this was not resolved. I also, in being here on this piece of this plot, also feel that there is a young woman associated with it, maybe the same young woman who died of a severe fever. I want to say a brain fever because it feels like my brain is burning. My brain is burning up. And this may have something to do with the father and the daughter that I was able to get in contact with the last time I was here. It's really nice to see that the place has been cleaned up by the volunteers, that the Historical Society sent in here, AmeriCorps volunteers, because now you can have a real sense, I can have a real sense of walking around it, sort of more of the feelings that are associated with the people that are buried here. I have not yet looked to see if I recognize the names, and I don't really want to do that, because when we do the tours here for the Freeport Historical Society, if we do them next month, which will be October, then I would prefer, again, still not to know that information ahead of time. So I'm going to step down. I don't have my glasses on, so I don't know who's buried here. I'm going to ask you to, Marie, if you would take a picture of the thingy, of the monument, and then we'll go to the next site if you don't mind.